Hello everyone, welcome to this replay of Brave Blade, the story of the 5 holy swords, a story that will be retold forever and ever according to the credits. I'm not so sure about that. No one seems to play this game. It was never ported to any home console. I don't see the PCB around often either, to be honest. And for a long time, quite difficult to run in Mame. And maybe some of you were scared away by the blocky polygon graphics, I don't know. But that's early generation PlayStation hardware for you, I guess. Title screen looks pretty nice though. But beneath those bit dated graphics is actually a very addictive game, some manic gameplay. If you like to juggle medals at least. Go through the controls before we begin. You have your default shot on the A button. You're not supposed to use it much though, because you don't get much medals from it. B button is better, then you enter night mode, and then you can hit enemies with a melee attack and get more medals. And you also have a guard. And you can strengthen this guard by holding down the B button, and then you can absorb quite a lot of bullets before you take a hit. Eventually the guard will break though, and then you have only one hit to lose your life, of course. But it quickly fills up again, so if you're aggressive, hit a lot of enemies, you don't have to worry too much. And C button is your special mode when you enter Core Awakening, it's called. It begins with a smart bomb, then you're invincible for some short amount of time, also a little bit faster, so it's perfect for collecting a lot of medals. And speaking of the medals, you level them up from 100 points all the way up to 100,000. It's like 24 levels, and you level up by collecting them or hitting them with a sword, if that makes sense. And there's 5 heroes to choose between. I'm using the default one on the left, Rem Highland, he's called. Should really explore the others. I haven't really played much with the others, to be honest. The first stage is mostly about level up the medals as quickly as possible. So I try to grab each one before getting the next one, although I mess it up here a little bit. Because then you skip levels. So instead of 100, 200, 300, 400, you jump every second level, so 200, 400, etc. So it goes a little bit quicker if you do that in the beginning. And after that, after 10,000, then I just try to hit as many medals as I can to level them up. And this chip gives you a lot of small popcorn enemies, so it's good for milking a little bit. And here's a good place, I guess, for the first Core Awakening. So this super fast mode, trying to kill those red enemies quickly, because that would trigger these 6 yellow ones. So that's typically the case in this game. It's similar to Sukigon and Tai in this sense. Some enemies you need to kill fast to trigger more enemies, which means more medals in this game. Better scoring potential. Right, the first boss already, Gunhead Golem. He has 2 medals in his first form, and then like any other boss in this game, he transforms into a second. So let's see the nice 3D transformation. There you go. That's nice. And I guess that's one of the reasons why they went for the CN hardware here, to make those kind of 3D transformations. Also, your ship does the transformation from fighter mode to night mode and back. And I guess it's similar to the fighting series they had, the Bloody Roar games, Beast Riser, where you also transform into this beast mode, for instance. And this was not the first game on the hardware, so they've done, I think, 2 Bloody Roar games before this one. And it's a very similar team as in those fighting games, actually. Same designer as in the first Bloody Roar. And Shibayama, main programmer here, was also a programmer on those games, as well as Sukigo and Tai. This boss I'm just trying to milk a little bit before he times out. So those pink rockets he shoots at you, they're worth 10,000 if you hit them with the guard. And the missiles also worth a little bit more if you hit them with the guard. So that's what I'm trying to do. It's not that much though. I think all this milking leads to like 300,000 or so. So that's basically like 3 medals. So I wouldn't bother too much with this in the beginning, because it's just a lot of time wasting, really. And this boss, when he's about to time out, what he does is that he stands still for a second too long, and then he walks out. And you have like a couple of seconds to hit him. So he walks out like he had enough of this. Kind of anticlimactic. The boss just leaves. No explosion or anything. I think maybe there's 1 more minute or so milking this one. So I can maybe recap the story a little bit, what this game is about, as far as I understand, which is not much. But anyway, this planet was once peaceful, of course. This central kingdom, I think, is called Gunhead or something like that. And it was suddenly invaded by the North Country. And this Northern Country almost destroyed the whole central kingdom in a month. So the last chance, last resort, is to send these 5 heroes that you could select on the character select screen. So this hero and the 4 others, they are sent to the Northern Country. Instead of trying to defend the central area, they're sent as kind of a surprise attack to take out the North from within. So there he stopped and was about to walk out, so I tried to kill him. So the first stage is about breaching that front line and enter the Northern Country. And in the final stage, we will enter the capital, which is Yoga City. This stage is pretty fun. It's actually quite difficult. So I die a lot on the second stage. Especially from here, it's quite manic because you have a lot of enemies to left and right. So it's very difficult to keep all the medals and the chain going while still destroying all the enemies quickly enough. So I lose 1 or 2 medals there. And also I want to try to kill the enemies quickly because that will trigger more enemies at the end. Not sure which one trigger it, if it's these black ones or the green one. But if you kill these quickly, you get 4 waves of these white rockets. That's the first and the second, third, and the fourth. So if you're a little bit slower, you only get 2 of those. That's my average case, actually. Average scenario. Second boss. So yeah, the game is not the most beautiful looking at times. The first stage, I think, in particular, with this kind of blocky mountains and forest, doesn't look too nice. And you kind of miss the attention to detail that Raizing always had. You know, a lot of stuff going on in the background. You could play Daimaho for, so many times and still find out new little details in the background. But I think after stage 1, it doesn't look too bad. And, when they keep it simple, like this space background with stars, I think it's okay. And you will see, the galaxy up there to the right, or the galaxy belt or whatever. I'm not into astronomy, really. And then you have something there to the left, and those looks pretty nice. And you don't need too much detail, too much contour. It's nice as it is. And that moon looks pretty okay to me. Reminds me of stage 4, I think, in Sukigorentai. We're also behind the moon. This boss, I'm trying to milk the last of it. Those missiles you can get a little bit if you do the guard there. I wanted to fuel up though. I would refer a little bit to another player called Hugemaster, if I pronounce it right, I'm not sure. But he has a 76 million video up. I will add a link to the description. And he milks this boss a little bit differently. He destroys some other parts so that it cycles more frequently with the missiles. All right, third stage. This one is on the easy side, maybe too easy in my opinion. Although those red enemies, you could destroy both wings, ideally, but that's very, very difficult. And now we're approaching some kind of mid-boss. He's super simple, but you can take out both wings to get a medal. Here I was a little bit too eager and destroyed the center. But destroying that fast is pretty good, because otherwise you won't get those white rockets, those 5-6 medals. Here I milk a little bit missiles, not so much though. That red enemy there jumping up, I like those. It's a nice sound effect when you hit them, like clonk clonk sound. And they're quite intelligent the way they move and quite unpredictable. But as long as you hit them repeatedly, they're quite easy to take out. And the sword attack is a little bit stronger if you stand a little bit above, a little bit to the left of enemies. So when you hit them, when the sword animation is, I think, a little bit brighter, so it has more impact. So instead of 5 hits or something, it only requires 2 hits. So a huge difference. And this boss also, just like the stage in general, is a little bit on the easy side. There's 6 medals to extract from this form. And what Hugemaster does here is that he uses autofires. There's no autofire in this video. And maybe that impacts the scoring you can get from the default shot milking. So you can get closer to him, point blank him, and just shoot some side that's not really hurting him. So you milk, pretty standard milking. But I don't do it much. I think maybe it really needs 30 hertz autofire. On this form, I take out the arms first. It's nice to get those 6 medals, but also good for survival because if those arms are not destroyed, he has one attack that's actually quite dangerous. He lifts one arm, and then he shoots laser beams from the armpit, basically, as well as a lot of bullets, kind of a chaotic pattern. And that's actually quite difficult to dodge. There's very little space to move sometimes. So it's nice to get rid of that attack by destroying the arms right away. And then we're just trying to milk with the guard here. A few thousand. And from them, maybe 3,000. So not much, but it adds up to maybe 30, 40,000 or so. Half a medal value. And here the background is a little bit uninspiring, I would say. It looks almost like a beta version, like they should add something more here, shouldn't they? I found this boss very exciting in the beginning. It's pretty cool, the shark attack he does, you know, the bite. But he's very mechanic, always, the attack always works the same. So very little challenge once you learn the pattern. Unlike many other Raizing bosses that even if you learn the gist of the pattern, there is still a lot of random elements to it, so you still always need to be a little bit on your toes. Compare this to stage 3 in Tsukiguren time.
11 p.m. June 20th.
That one is much more challenging, even if I somewhat learn the patterns. So it's a little bit on the simple side, this game. You can feel that you have started to master it, I think more quicker than, more quickly than in many other Raizing games like Batrider, Garega, Tsukiguren Tai, Daimaho. Those games, it feels that there's a little bit more depth to it, to be honest. But I really find it it's really fun to catch medals like here. It's kind of an adrenaline kick you get a few times each stage. That's really nice. It's extremely intense trying to survive when you have no guard, trying to capture all medals, killing enemies at the same time, killing them quickly to trigger more enemies. Here I'm a little bit disappointed on this run because usually I get a pretty good timing here. Hugemaster has it on his replay. You know, it's kind of a zigzag pattern, left, right, left, right, left, right to get those ships on the side. And you can destroy one and take the medal right away, and then go to the other side and destroy the one without trying to catch a medal because there won't be any, because it's every second enemy. And then you go back for it, but all the medals will come on one side, so it's very convenient. And here, I don't know why, I was very slow catching the medals and took a hit, so I couldn't use the Core Awakening, so that was a little bit of a mistake. Usually I do Core Awakening here at the beginning. So now I needed to wait for it to fuel up, charge up. And then I wanted him to fly away so that I'm sure he won't fly again, because then it's difficult to hit him and get those medals. Like here, he flies away. So I wait to the Awakening until he's back. This boss I like much more than the previous one. So even if it's quite mechanic with the patterns, there's still some elements of randomness to it. Actually, I lose a life here. So here, there's an RNG. He either goes left or right. It's much easier if he goes in the other direction. But he went a little bit closer to the edge of the screen than I expected. I should have probably gone to the middle there. I think it looks pretty nice though with the blades. I don't know, maybe I've just gotten accustomed to this game, and now it doesn't look so ugly anymore. It's just maybe the first stage and a little bit the third stage. Otherwise, I think it's it has very much its own charm. Maybe M2 could do a HD remake, I don't know. And this attack reminds me of Blackheart, Balgarega. Similar, you tap a little bit to the left and then tap a little bit to the right. You follow, it's almost a little bit like a dance.
Mission accomplished. Returning. 9 a.m. June 24th.
Right, stage 5, that's maybe my favorite stage of all. I really like this gorgeous yellow background. I have a soft spot for fire in shooting games. Flamethrowers or explosions, lava, anything with fire works for me. And yeah, this one, I think, you know, this game has a bad rep for its graphics, but I don't know. I think this fire background looks pretty cool. And those tanks at the bottom there, they're quite difficult because they shoot even at close range. So it's very easy that they break the guard like that. And those ships, big ships, characteristic of Raizing, I could have broken them down a little bit better by first do the bottom, then do the top, and then do the bottom. And here we have more of those red enemies that you need to be close to and hit a lot of the times repeatedly, so they don't have a chance to shoot at you or move towards you. Right, Earthborn, pretty cool boss, also one of my favorites. I'm staying on the left side to take out the left wing. Make it a little bit easier. And then I'm going typically for the other wing, like here, for the other two medals. Actually, you don't need to kill those wings or destroy those wings in this form. You can also destroy them for the second form, but those 4 turrets in the middle, you need to destroy them in this form if you want to get the 4 medals, because they will be deactivated otherwise. That blue pattern I think looks pretty nice when all 4 turrets shoot. And this boss, I haven't completely learned him, so there's a few patterns that challenge me. So this is a moment where I'm most focused to try to survive, not waste another life. I like that attack, that swing. And these flames, I really like them. And the blue against the yellow background looks pretty nice to me. And here's a safe spot to the sides. And this one I have difficulty with, so I'm using guard. It seems Hogemaster found somewhat of a safe spot there, but it's difficult to reach. These flames are quite unpredictable. These ones are not. They're very similar from one time to the other. But I like those flames. They look great, those brilliant, bright-looking ones. It's a nice variety of patterns. That's trademark of Raizing, I think.
Mission accomplished. Returning. 2:30 p.m. June 24th.
All right, this is a more of a happy, cheerful tune and a lot of metal collecting in the beginning, so let's enjoy that for a moment. A little bit sloppy, missing 2 medals there. And from here on, the last 2 stages, we have 2 bosses. So this is the first one on this stage, the Flying Fortress. And I love destroying those parts and seeing the medals accumulate. Hugge must have found some kind of safe spot on the right side, top left corner, on the top left corner. So that's also an option. It's kind of a nice feel being beneath it and just destroying all those with the sword. And for this form, trying to destroy those turrets first, they're quite nasty. But not the part that they are attached to, the center bottom part. Because if you destroy that one, it will throw many more bullets at you. So instead I go for the sides first. And here Hugge must actually get very close to the center. There's some blades there, as you can see, circling around. And if you're really close, you can graze it. And I guess point blank shoot it at the same time. And I think with autofire you can increase the score to a decent amount. But milking in this game, very little scoring. It's mostly the medals. Here I timed the Core Awakening so that I destroyed the top part right before the center, right before it times out. And here's a challenging section. So those trains or whatever that's flying in the air, you should destroy the cards really from bottom to top, because then you get more medals. But I'm playing a little bit safe there. And I like those big robots. There will be a couple of more of them. Nice sound effect when you hit them. This clong clong sound. And they're very unpredictable. They move towards you, easily break your guard, and they swing some kind of ball towards you. That's also very dangerous. Behind this first form of the boss, we have what's called floating rock, and that's where the magic ore that fuels these weapons is contained. So I guess we're after those floating rocks or something. So those secret ore, they're the ones that fuel the rune swords of the enemy bosses, these blades, as well as I think the magic sword that our characters have. And this second form is probably my favorite boss of the whole game. It's really fun, creative problem solving, trying to understand, trial and error, which of these parts I should destroy in which order and when to optimize scoring and survival in this one. So I'm destroying the left side and keep the right side intact, because the right side will give you this blue ore. I think that's the secret ore that fuels the weapon. And so I can refill the meter and use the awakening mode right after this cycle. And the timing there is important, so I activate Core Awakening right after those blue bullets, because then when I need to refill, they will be back, like here. And I can begin the next cycle right away. So almost no dodging whatsoever. If you destroy these in the wrong order, it's such more difficult boss than is, I guess, maybe the most difficult in this game. So that was really fun, trying to understand, you know, which part should I destroy first. Hugge must also go up close to the wing and point blank shoot it with the default shot to get a couple of more points. But he has a very different strategy to this boss in total, altogether. All right, last stage. We're entering the capital now, Yuga.
1 a.m. July 1st.
And destroying these red enemies quickly will give you a batch of blue ones, these ones. And here I messed up with the metal a little bit, so I lost the pace. And from here on, my route is pretty almost non-existent, and it's more about surviving, improvising. Those tanks on the bottom that shoot these bullets at close range, they are really difficult for me. They break the guard constantly. And then you have 2 of those mechanic robots. Clonk clonk sound effect again. And they shoot a lot of bullets if you don't keep close distance. And I think here is the perfect timing for the awakening, but I got it a little bit too late. So when you use the awakening later, it has this kind of smart bomb effect that destroys enemies and give you fewer medals. So ideally you should use core awakening when there's almost no enemy on the screen if you want to get as many medals as possible. Right, the last 2 bosses now. Here my first priority is taking out the turrets, but keeping that kind of bridge thing they're attached to in the middle at the bottom there until I'm up there, because it throws some nasty bullets at the bottom half. You see those ones. Then I destroy the sides one by one. So first left side. And when you destroy the side completely, you get those purple laser beams chasing you. And you need to destroy every turret twice before it's completely out. And that's it for this one. The more challenging aspect with this boss is that those turrets, they can shoot at you also from quite close distance. So very often they break the guard, and then it becomes much more difficult. And sometimes I have no power or no guard when I begin the boss. So the very beginning is a little bit of a peak moment as well. And this is a nice, maybe not the most difficult pattern, but when you're nervous, can still be a challenge. This form is easier though. If you go right, I go left, just to destroy the left side and take those 3 medals. Thank you very much. Then I do the same thing on the right side, 3 more medals. And when you destroy those sides, he will throw some mines or pods or whatever these are. So there's 5 or 6 of them, 6 of them I guess, because there's 6 parts you destroy. And that's maybe 5,000 or something. This form times out pretty quickly, so I try to take him out before he times out to get another 50,000. And also want to short chop, so I'm almost fully powered for the last form, which is very challenging and contain a lot of medals. So 2 hits and then core awakening and trying to capture all medals. That's the strategy I pursue. I was lucky here to get all medals right away. And that pattern, that's typical Raizing, similar to Sukyugoren Tai. Not this, very neat patterns where everything is neatly in place, like in Touhou or Cave bullet hells, but more chaotic, a mess of bullets. But of course there is a pattern, and you start to implicitly recognize it as you play. Typically a little bit off-center is perfect location to be there. So I really like those. There's patterns, but there's also a sense of randomness and chaos that makes them quite intense.
Colossal enemy weapon is approaching.
Oh yeah, the last boss, the artificial Seraph, sounds like a Final Fantasy character or something. And he's gorgeous to me. So this game goes out with a nice looking boss. I like the Yuga City background, this blue-black background. I like the shots, these ones, the purple flames. And you should be quite close to him, and then those purple flames are not too difficult. But he moves in kind of an erratic fashion and somewhat intelligently oriented towards you. So if you make some moves, he can change accordingly, and sometimes you collide with him. That's frequently how I die when I meet this boss, collision. On this pattern, I go a little bit to the left to avoid the first 2 strings of attacks or bullets, and then I go to the right side. And I don't use the core awakening on the first form of the boss because I save the power so I can have a guard. And this is the second and the last form. And here I need to be a little bit closer to him, even closer, very close. When you throw these things, these blue helpers or options, that's the only thing here I think you can milk. You can get like 80,000 or so from those. And I think I die here quite soon. I was actually quite nervous here because usually I have like 61 mil. So this was 2 million better than my typical scenario. So I felt this was a pretty good run. I wanted to get a 1 credit clear of. You can take out these 8 helpers in one swing if you have perfect timing, but I usually only take out like half of them. Damn. And like with other enemies, if you stand a little bit above to the left, the sword does a little bit more damage. So now I'm just trying to get close to him and use the sword. Fortunately, I went in the wrong direction there, so that was a little bit sloppy. But with the sword, you deal a lot of damage, so you can take him out if you have 1-2 life in stocks.
Mission accomplished. Returning.
Right, so that's it. We've blown away artificial Seraph, and we can fly away together with the seagulls. Unfortunately, we have the choppy mountains and forest to look at. Weird clouds. But I think, despite maybe stage 1, stage 3, I think this game actually looked pretty nice. Especially stage 5 and stage 6, maybe 7 as well. Yeah, this is a game I really hope more people play it. Hope this video inspire like 5 people to play it. Then we have double the amount of Beyblade players out there. Then maybe we get a port from M2, Nintendo Switch port maybe. That's what I'm crossing my fingers for. So this is the story of the 5 holy swords. I hope you tell it to your children and grandchildren, so they can tell their children and grandchildren. Screw Tolkien, screw George R.R. Martin. This is the real story, the Beyblade. Tatsuta and Chibayama deserves a particular mention, I think. Tatsuta for planning and design, and I think this was some extension of the Bloody Roar design with the 3D transformation effects. And Chibayama took over, I guess, from Yuichi Toyama, who was the main programmer on Tsukigo Dantai, now took a step back, I guess, as a supervisory role. Manabu Namiki, I think, did the whole soundtrack. And the soundtrack is very toned down. It's a little bit too silent, almost forgettable in the beginning. But, you know, with most shooters, if you play them a lot, you start to like it. And actually, I start to like this soundtrack quite a lot. Stage 6, the more happy, cheerful tune is pretty good. And yeah, I think stage 1 is pretty nice as well. All of them are nice, and it's soundtrack that is easy to distinguish from the most other shooter soundtracks out there. So Manabu Namiki can make a lot of good shooter soundtracks, that's clear. Rai. Some neat scores from Rai. All right, that's it. So hope you enjoyed this video. See you next time. Bye-bye.